Hello my dear student, third year. This is Fatma Mahmoud Amara and this is our new section in chapter 3, which is titled by CVP analysis or cost volume profit analysis. In our first section in this chapter we talked about many definitions, and we talked about many assumptions related to the CVP analysis. I hope that you understand those assumptions clearly. So today we are going to implement on this assumption, and we will implement on the break-even point, and we will implement on the margin of safety by examples. So let's go. Number 1, the selling price per unit less the variable cost per unit is, what is this? This is the contribution margin per unit. We said in the first chapter, in the last chapter, in the last section, that the contribution margin per unit is computed by subtracting the selling price per unit minus the variable cost per unit. So the answer will be contribution margin per unit. Number 2, in the graph method of CVP analysis, in the graph method, listen here, he mean here in the graph methods. In the graph methods, what's happening in the graph method? Total revenues line starts from 0 point or at the origin. The revenue line is started from the 0 point, and the total cost line started at the fixed intercept or at from the beginning of the fixed cost, as we said in the last chapter, in the last section. Number 3, Sparkle Jewelry sells 800 units, resulting in $9,000 of sales revenue and $3,000 of variable costs and $1,500 of fixed costs. Contribution margin per unit will be, here he give me the units sold equal 800 units, and selling price and the sales revenue for this 800 units is $9,000, and the variable cost related to this 800 unit is $3,000, and fixed cost related to this 800 unit is $1,500. So the contribution margin will be, the solution here will be in 2 steps. He needs here the contribution margin per unit, but he gives me in the example the amounts in total. So you will compute first you will compute the total contribution margin in total, and then compute the contribution margin per unit. So step 1 will be, we will compute the total contribution margin by subtracting sales revenue minus variable cost in total. So the contribution margin equal total sales revenue minus total variable costs will be $9,000 minus $3,000 equals $6,000. This is the total contribution margin, $6,000. We will divide the total contribution margin by the units sold in order to get the contribution margin per unit. So the contribution margin per unit will be equal total contribution margin divided by units sold will equal $6,000 divided by 800 units. It will be $7.5 per unit. This is number 3. Number 4, another example. Sparkle Jewelry seals 500 units, resulting in $10,000 of sales revenue and $4,000 of variable costs, and $1,500 of fixed cost. Calculate variable cost per unit. Round the final answer to the nearest cent. يعني use the approximation. Here he gave me the units sold is 500 units, and sales revenue of these 500 units is $10,000. And the variable cost or total variable costs related to this 500 units is $4,000, and the total fixed costs related to this 500 units is $1,500. He needs to calculate the variable cost per unit. So the variable cost per unit, as we said in chapter 2, equal to variable costs per unit equal total variable costs divided by the units sold. So it will be equal $4,000 divided by 500 units. It will be $8 per unit. Number 5. Tally Corporation sells software during the requirement seasons. During the current year, 14,000 software packages were sold, resulting in $460,000 of sales revenue and $110,000 of variable costs and $50,000 of fixed costs. So the contribution margin per software is, he needs here to compute the contribution margin per software or the contribution margin per unit. So he gave me here units sold equal 14,000 units, and the sales revenue related to this 14 units is $460,000, and the variable costs related to this 14 units are $110,000, and the fixed costs related to these units are $50,000. So the solution here will be in 2 steps. We need to compute the total contribution margin because he gave me the amounts in total in the example. So the total contribution margin will equal total sales revenue minus total variable costs. It will be equal $460,000 minus $110,000. It will be equal $350,000. This is the total contribution margin, $350,000. We will divide this total contribution margin by the units sold. We will get the contribution margin per unit. So the contribution margin per unit will equal $350,000 divided by 14 units. It will be equal $25 per unit. So the contribution margin will equal, contribution margin per unit will equal $25 per unit. Number 6. Bell Company sells several products. Information of average revenue and costs is as follows. He gave me some information related to revenues and costs. Selling price per unit is equal $29. Variable costs per unit divided into sub-elements: direct material $6, direct manufacturing labor $1.75, and manufacturing overhead is $0.25, and selling cost is $2. Annual fixed cost is $111,000. The company sells 13 units. This is the units sold. what is the proportion of variable costs to total costs. Proportion of variable costs to the total costs. He needs here to compute the total costs, total variable costs, and its portion to the total costs. So we will compute total variable costs first, and we will link it to the total costs. So the total variable costs will equal اللي هي variable costs per unit multiplied by units sold. The variable costs per unit here, it's given here. Variable cost per unit is direct material plus direct manufacturing labor plus manufacturing overhead plus selling costs. These four elements will equal the variable cost per unit. So we will add 6 plus $1, $1.75 plus $0.25 plus $2, it will equal $10. This $10 is variable cost per unit. So we will multiply the variable cost per unit by the units sold, which are 13 units. We will get the total variable cost by $130,000. So the total variable cost equal $130,000. And the annual fixed cost is equal $118,000. So the total costs will equal total variable costs plus total fixed costs. It will be $241,000. So the proportion of the variable costs to the total costs will equal $130,000 divided by $241,000. It will equal 53.94%. This is the proportion of the variable costs to the total costs. Number 7. Arthur Plumbing reported the following: revenues equal $4,500 and variable manufacturing costs is $900 and variable non-manufacturing costs equal $810 and fixed manufacturing costs equal $630. Fixed non-manufacturing costs equal $545. Required: compute the following: A. Compute the contribution margin. B. Compute the contribution margin percent. C. Compute the gross margin. D. Compute the gross margin percent. And E. Compute the operating income. As we said before, number A, contribution margin will be sales revenue. Total contribution margin equals sales revenue minus variable costs. And here variable costs is divided to two elements: variable manufacturing costs and the variable non-manufacturing costs. So the variable costs will equal $900 plus $810. Sales revenue for $1,500 minus $900 minus $810. It will be $2,790. This is the contribution margin. P. Contribution margin percent. It will computed contribution margin percent equal total contribution margin divided by sales revenue multiplied by 100%. So it will be $2,790 divided by $4,500 multiplied by 100%. It will be 62%. Number C, the contribution margin. Contribution margin equals sales revenue minus manufacturing costs. Sales revenue minus manufacturing costs here is divided to variable manufacturing costs and fixed manufacturing costs only. We didn't use the non-manufacturing costs here. So the contribution margin will equal sales revenue $4,500 minus variable manufacturing costs $900 minus fixed manufacturing costs $630, it will equal 2,970 and we need to compute the gross margin percentage. The gross margin percentage equal the gross margin divided by sales revenue multiplied by 10%. It will be equal 66%. Operating income. Operating income equal sales revenue minus all manufacturing and operating costs. All manufacturing and operating costs. So sales revenue equal $4,500 minus all manufacturing and operating costs, $900 minus $810 and $630 and $545. It will equal $1,615. This is the operating income. Number 8, Sparkle Jewelry sells 600 units, resulting in $75,000 of sales revenue and $32 of variable costs and $26,000 of fixed costs. He needs to compute break-even point in units. So he gave me here the units sold are 600 units and sales revenue are $75,000 and variable costs are $32,000 and fixed costs are $26,000. This is fixed cost. He needs to compute break-even point in units. So our rule is break-even point units equal fixed costs divided by contribution margin per unit. So we need to compute the contribution margin per unit first. Contribution margin per unit will equal sales revenue minus variable costs divided by units sold. The contribution margin per unit will equal $71.67. This is a contribution margin per unit. So the break-even point on unit equal fixed cost divided by this contribution margin per unit. Fixed cost is equal $26,000 divided by $71.67. It will be equal 363 units. After that, number 9. This is number 9. Sparkle Jewelry sells 800 units, resulting in $85,000 unit of sales revenue and $32,000 of variable costs and $26,000 of fixed costs. The number of units that must be sold to achieve operating income by $41,000. This is units required to be sold to achieve the operating income. It will be equal fixed costs plus the operating income or the target operating income divided by the contribution margin per unit. So we need here to compute the contribution margin per unit first. The contribution margin per unit will equal sales revenue, which are $85,000 minus variable costs, which are $32,000 divided by 800 units. It will equal $66.25. The number of units that must be sold, it will equal fixed costs plus operating income divided by the $66.25. It will be equal 1,012 units. 1,012 units. This is the number of units that's required to achieve an operating income by $41,000. This is some of our short examples that we used to practice on the rules that we take in the last section. Here there is a big problem and needs you to be more concentrated when you solve it. Sony company manufactures and sells a specialized telephone for high electromagnetic radiation environments. The company contribution format income statement for the most recent year is given below. This is the income statement for the company. Sales minus variable costs or variable expenses equal contribution margin minus fixed expenses equal net operating income. Sales here is equal, units sold is equal to 20,000 units. 20,000 units achieved me sales revenue by $1,200,000. So the selling price will equal $60 per unit. This column is the summation or total column. This is the per unit column, and the third column is the percent of sales column. And variable expenses equal $900,000. Variable costs equal $900,000. يعني the 20,000 units costing me variable costs by $900,000. So the variable cost per unit will equal $900,000 divided by the 20,000 unit equal 45. So the variable cost per unit is $45 per unit. I need that here to compute. You need here to compute the variable cost ratio, and he needs here also to compute the contribution margin ratio. It will be the variable. It will be required in number 1. So we will divide 45 on 60. It will be the variable costs ratio, and 15 divided by 60, it will be the contribution margin ratio. And this is what is required in the number 1. Number 1, compute the company's ratio. Compute the company's ratio, contribution margin ratio, and the variable costs ratio. As we said before, the contribution margin ratio equal contribution margin per unit divided by selling price. Contribution margin per unit here, given here, contribution margin per unit is $15 divided by the selling price $60. It will be 25%. And the variable costs ratio is here equal variable costs per unit. Variable costs per unit is $45 divided by the selling price, which is $60. So the variable costs ratio will be 75. Here will be 75, and here will be the 25%. Number 2. The required in number 2. Compute the company's break-even point in both units and dollars. Use the equation method. He needs here to compute the company break-even point units and in dollars, but by using the equation method. Here we will solve it. The company here solution is number 2. Here is the solution of number 1 by rules, and it's very simple in number 1. Number 2 is also simple. Break-even point in units and in dollar by using the equation methods will be contribution margin per unit multiplied by Q, which are units sold, minus fixed cost equal operating income. As we compute break-even point, so the operating income will be 0. So we will solve this equation, and the Q number of units will equal 16,000 units. So this 16,000 units is sold by $60 per unit. So the break-even point in dollars will equal $960,000. So we compute first the break-even point in units is equal $16,000 units, and the break-even point in dollar equal $960,000. Number 3, we will read it first. Number 3, assume that sales increased by $400,000 next year if cost behavior pattern remained unchanged. By how much will the company net operating income increase? What is the effect of? He asking me here to compute the effect of operating income by the increase of sales by $400,000. Use the contribution margin ratio to compute your answer. He needs to compute the contribution margin ratio. So in number 3, sales increased by $400,000. 400 sales increase, and the cost pattern is unchanged. So what is the effect on the operating income? So we will increase in sales by $400,000 by the contribution margin ratio. It will expected increase contribution margin. In contribution margin will be $100,000. Will be $100,000. So the net income or the operating income will increase by the total amount of increase in contribution margin, which is $100,000, because the cost pattern is remain unchanged. Number 4, I think he used the target operating income in number 4. Yes. Refer to the original data. Assumes that next year management wants the company to earn a profit of at least $90,000. How many units will be sold to meet this target operating income? Yes, number 4, target operating income is $90,000. How many units should be produced or should be sold? So number 4, using the equation methods, we will target operating income will be equal unit contribution margin per unit multiplied by Q minus fixed expenses. So after we solving the equation, so the Q will equal 22,000 units. This is by the equation method. If we use the formula method, quantity of units required to be sold will equal fixed costs plus target operating income divided by contribution margin per unit. The fixed cost is $240,000 plus target operating income is $90,000 divided by contribution margin per unit. So the quantity of units required to be sold will equal 22,000 units. Number 5, and number 5 is very interesting. Number 5. In an effort to increase sales and profits, management is considering the use of higher quality speaker. To increase the sales and increase the profits, management is considering to use the higher quality speaker. The higher quality speaker would increase variable costs by $3 $3. So the variable costs per unit, it was $45 per unit, as we said in our example. So here it will increase in by $3. So the new variable costs per unit after the use of higher quality speaker, it will be equal $48 per unit. Okay, and let's complete. But management couldn't eliminate one quality inspector who is paid a salary of $30,000 per year. The sales manager estimate the salary or the fixed costs here, he will eliminate a salary of inspector, quality inspector. So the fixed costs here will be decreased by $30,000. So the fixed costs were $240,000. So after eliminating the quality inspectors, the new fixed cost will be $210,000. $210,000. Let's complete. The sales manager estimates that the higher quality inspector would increase annual sales by at least 20%. So the sales will increase by 20%. So the sales units are 20,000 units, as we said in our example, and it will increase by 20%. So it will be 20,000 units multiplied by 20%. It will be equal to 24,000 units. 24,000. So then our new sales or our new units sold is 24,000 units. So this is given. This is an introduction to number 5. So number A, assume that changes are made as described. The changes that he described here above is already happening. Prepare a projected contribution format income statement. He needs to prepare an income statement for the next year, show data on total and per unit and percentage. He needs to show data in total and per unit and percentage as he gave me the head of your example. Let's go to number A. Let's read the number P. Also compute the company new break-even point in both units and dollars. Break-even point in units. Number A, he needs to compute the income statement. He needs to prepare an income statement in total and in per unit and in percentage. Number B, he needs to compute a break-even point in units and break-even point in dollar using formula methods here, and it's very interesting. Number A, in number 5A, an increase in sales by 20% will result in the increase of units sold by 24,000 units. So the new income statement will be as follows. Yes, sales by the new units, it will be 24,000 units, and this by the ceiling price 60, it will result in sales revenue $1,440,000, and the variable costs per unit increased by 3, which it was $45 per unit. Here it will be increased by 3, so it will become $48 per unit. So the percentage of sales is equal to 100%, and the percentage of variable costs is equal 48 divided by 60, it will be 80%. The contribution margin be equal in total will equal sales revenue minus variable costs. It will be equal $288,000, and the contribution margin per unit will equal selling price minus variable costs per unit. It will equal $12. So the percent will be 20%. Fixed costs. He said that the salary of the inspector, it will be eliminated from the fixed cost. So the new fixed cost will be $210,000 by subtracting the $30,000 from the $240,000. So the net operating income will be contribution margin minus fixed costs. It will be $78,000. This is our new income statement after the changes in the above is happened or occurred. So number B, he needs to compute the break-even point in units and the break-even point in dollar. Break-even point in units equal fixed costs divided by contribution margin per unit. Fixed costs here is $210,000 divided by the contribution margin per unit 12, it will equal 17,500 units. This is break-even point in units. Break-even point in dollars, it will be fixed costs divided by contribution margin ratio, so it will be $1,050,000. If the increase in if this changes affect the operating income, yes, it will affect the operating income. The operating income will increase by $78,000. It was in the old income statement $60,000. Now it becomes $78,000. So the net income, net operating income is increased. So this changes is good, is affected by increase in the operating income. Number 6, he needs to compute the margin of safety. Our margin of safety rules in dollar is total sales minus break-even sales. So total sales is given and total break-even sales is given, so you can subtract each from each other. So the margin of safety in dollar will be $240,000, and the margin of safety in percentage, it will be margin of safety in dollar divided by total sales. So the margin of safety percentage, it will equal 20%. I hope you understand well. I hope you enjoyed in this chapter. Thank you for being listening.